Hi, so we're going to look at ratios, rates, and unit rates today. Let's start with a ratio. A ratio is a comparison of two quantities, and it's used with division. So you're going to see a lot of different ways we can write ratios. Ratios can be written three ways. First is it will look like a fraction. Second, it could have a colon in between the two numbers. Or third, it can have the word 2 in between the two numbers. Now, some things to keep in mind when you're writing ratios. The first thing I want you to keep in mind is that the order of the numbers really makes a big difference. In fact, if you flip the numbers, your ratio is going to be incorrect. So you need to make sure you have the numbers written in the right way. And the question will specify which way to write the numbers. It will tell you which quantity they want to have first and which quantity they want to have second. The second thing I want you to remember when you're writing ratios is that you do need to simplify them. Now, that does not mean change them into a mixed number, because remember, a ratio is a comparison of two quantities. So you can only have two numbers. So even if it's written as a fraction, we're going to leave it looking like an improper fraction because we need to have only two numbers. But we do want to try to simplify as much as possible. So let's look at these four examples here. The first one says, in the NFL 2001-2002 season, the Miami Dolphins won 11 games and the Oakland Raiders won 10 games. What is the ratio of wins from the Dolphins to the Raiders? So here it's telling you exactly how we want it. We want Dolphins to Raiders. So we want the Dolphins number first. Well, the Miami Dolphins won 11 times and the Raiders won 10 times. So I've got 11 over 10. Those are my two quantities. Luckily, we can't simplify it all, so I'm going to leave it like that. I could also write it with a colon in between, so that would look like this. Or I could even write it with the word 2 in between it. So those are your three ways you can write your ratios, and it doesn't matter unless the directions ask for it to be written a certain way. Let's go to number 2. Rod has 10 rose bushes, 2 of which produce yellow roses. Write the ratio 2 yellow rose bushes out of 10 in the simplest form. Here they're even telling you to write the ratio of 2 yellow bushes to 10. So I've got 2 to 10. It does tell us in simplest form, so I'm going to try to simplify this. We simplify it just like we would a fraction, which would be 1 to 5. And again, we can do 1 to 5 or 1 to 5. Either of those would be great. The third one, Nancy and Lisa played 20 sets of tennis. Nancy won 12 of them. Write the ratio of Nancy's win to the total number of sets. So we're writing the ratio of Nancy's wins to the total in simplest form. Well, Nancy won 12 of the sets. They played a total of 20 sets, so I've got 12 to 20. Let's try to simplify here. 4 goes into each. 4 goes into 12 3 times, and 4 goes into 25 times. So I've got 3 to 5, 3 to 5, and 3 to 5. And the last one. Oscar is 16 years old, and his sister Julia is 12 years old. What will the ratio of Oscar's age to Julia's age, there's my ratio, be in 2 years? Write as a fraction in simplest form. So here it's telling me I want it just as a fraction. So Oscar's age, Oscar is right now 16 years old, but we want to do it in 2 years. Well, in 2 years, Oscar will be 18 years old. Right now, Julia is 12 years old. So in 2 years, Julia will now be 14 years old. So I've got 18 over 14. Let's simplify this, which would be 9 over 7. And it just says to write it as a fraction, so I'm going to leave it just like that. So that's how ratios work. Let's now look at unit rates. All right, let's first start talking about what a rate is. A rate is a comparison of two quantities that have different units. A rate and a ratio are very, very similar. The difference between the two is that a ratio can have it can be comparing anything. Shapes, it can compare money, it can compare time. Where here, a rate is going to compare two quantities that have two totally different units, like money and time. Or let's think of another good one, miles versus hours, for example. So that's the difference. A unit rate is a rate, but this time the second quantity is going to be equal to 1. So look down here at this box, and this tells you a really good example of what a rate is versus a unit rate. So in this first example, my rate is 60 miles for 3 hours. So somebody drove 60 miles in 3 hours. The unit rate for that would be to get that denominator, that second number, to be equal to 1. Well, the way we get it equal to 1 is we simplify it. And here we would divide, and so we get 20 miles to 1 hour. And another way we can say that is right here. It's 20 miles per hour. That little slash there, you use the word per. And I'm sure y'all have heard that before, miles per hour. The second one here is we've got 40 words in 2 minutes. So maybe somebody can type 40 words in 2 minutes or read 40 words in 2 minutes. Well, the unit rate for that is we want to get that denominator to equal 1, so we divide by 2 and divide this by 2. So our unit rate would now be 20 words per minute. Let's look at our own examples here. So number 9 here, I've got 294 miles on 10 gallons. Well, remember, I'm wanting to get that denominator to be 1. I'm going to get 1 gallon. Well, the way I get 1 gallon is I divide by 10. So I'm going to divide this by 10. Remember, dividing by 10 is just like moving a decimal point. So I end up getting 29.4 miles. So there's my unit rate, 29.4 miles per gallon. All right, number 10. Number 10 says that I've got 72 cents for 12 ounces. And remember again, we want to get that denominator to be 1. Well, the way we get that denominator by 1 is we're going to divide by 12. Well, 72, I'm going to treat this just like a whole number. 72 divided by 12 would be 6. So this would end up being 6 cents per ounce. That would be the cost of that. And they're not always this easy. There's going to be many times that you're going to have to go over and actually do some multiplication. So I don't want you to think that they're always going to be this simple that you can do them in your head. Like, for example, this one, this $388 for 2 pounds. So we want to find out what it costs per pound for 1 pound. So here's one of those. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go ahead and divide. So 388 divided by 2, pull that decimal up. We get 1. That goes in there 9 times, which is 18. Subtract, we get 0. Bring that down. So I get $1.94. So it's $1.94 per pound. I'm just going to erase this so I can do number 12 on this side. Okay. And number 12, this last one, I'm going to just work it right over here. Number 12. I've got 3.4 inches in 2 months. So again, let's figure out 3.4 divided by 2. Pull that decimal up. So we get 1.7. So we've got 1.7 inches in 1 month. All right. And there's our unit rate. Do one more question, because a lot of times you'll see this on a quiz or on a test. And this is a consumer awareness question. It's also known as a better buy question. So it says here, you are trying to decide whether to buy a package of 20 yellow pencils for $1.25 or a package of 15 rainbow pencils for $1.09. Which is a better buy and why? Well, obviously, the best way to look at this is we need to figure out what it costs per pencil, so for 1 pencil. So in our first example, I'm going to go and split my screen in half. I've got $1.25. And that goes for 20 pencils. So what we want to do is we want to find out what it costs per pencil. So I'm going to divide $1.25 by 20. I'm going to pull that decimal up. It doesn't go in that evenly. It does not go into that. It can go into 125 6 times. That would be 120. Subtracting, we get 5. I'm going to add a 0, bring it down. Well, 20 can go into 50 twice. That would be 40. And we've got 10. I'm going to add one more 0 and bring it down, and 20 can go into 100 5 times. So we are looking at 0.0625 per pencil. Now remember, that is money, so it's a little bit over 6 cents, okay? But I'm going to leave all those decimals and everything there just so I can make sure I have a good comparison. And my next one is for $1.09 for 15 pencils. So again, we want to find out what it is for one pencil. So we're going to do $1.09. And we're going to want to divide that by 15. So let's go ahead and carry that decimal point up. Well, 15 can't go into 1 or 10, but it can go into 109 7 times, and that would be 105. Subtract, we get 4, add a 0, bring it down. 15 can go into 40 twice, that would be 30. Subtract, we get 10, add a 0, bring it down. That time it goes in there just 6 times, which would be 90. Subtract, okay, we got 10 again, so it's going to repeat. So here I've got 0.0726 repeating. So now we're going to compare these, what it costs per pencil. And we're looking for the better buy. We're looking for the cheaper one. This one would be the better buy because it's a little bit cheaper. Not by much, but a little bit cheaper. So this would be the better buy. And the reason why is because the cost per pencil is less than the price per pencil for the 15 pack. So that's ratios and rates. I hope that all made sense. Good luck on y'all's next assignment.